Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into what it takes to register your medical devices and IVDs in Kuwait. We're going to be working right from the official Ministry of Health guidelines. So think of this as your strategic map for market entry. Let's get right into it.
All right, so here's our roadmap for today. We've broken this down into 5 key stages, basically the exact journey you'll be taking. We'll kick things off with the basics, get into appointing a local agent, choosing your review pathway, super important, then assembling all that paperwork, and finally, what you need to do after you get approved. Let's do it.
Okay, first things first, we gotta get the fundamentals down. Before we can even talk strategy, we need to be speaking the same language as the regulators. So let's look at how Kuwait's Ministry of Health officially defines a couple of key terms. This is absolutely the foundation for a successful application.
So, a medical device. The official definition is, well, it's really broad, and that's on purpose. We're talking about everything from simple instruments all the way up to complex software. The big takeaway for you, don't look for loopholes. If your product is intended for a medical purpose on a person, you can pretty much assume it's covered. And here's something crucial to keep in mind. All these devices get sorted into risk classes, from low risk A to high risk D. And that classification is going to dictate everything about your registration process later on. And then there are IVDs. The key phrase to remember here is in vitro, which literally means in glass. So unlike the devices we just talked about that might go in or on a person, these are for testing stuff outside the body. Think of a lab running tests on blood or tissue samples. That's the world of IVDs, and they're all about providing that critical diagnostic info.
Okay, so now that we've got the definitions down, let's move on to your very first non-negotiable step. You have to appoint a local partner. I can't stress this enough. You literally cannot register a device in Kuwait without an official in-country authorized representative. And listen, this can't just be any company. They have to meet a really strict set of criteria. You should really treat this list here as your personal checklist. Before you even think about signing an agreement, you need to make sure your potential partner can show you proof of every single one of these valid licenses. Getting this right is your most important piece of due diligence, right at the start. All right, you've found your local partner. Now comes what is probably the biggest strategic decision you're going to make in this whole process, choosing your review pathway. Seriously, this one choice is going to shape your timeline, the amount of paperwork you have to do, basically your entire game plan for Kuwait. So, you've basically got 3 lanes to choose from. The standard pathway, well, that's the default. It's the full, comprehensive regulatory review. Then you've got fast track, which is, as it sounds, for devices that are urgently needed. And then there's the abridged pathway. Now, this one is a huge potential advantage. If your device already have the stamp of approval from a major regulator, like the FDA in the US or the EMA in Europe, you can get on this shorter path. And this is really smart on Kuwait's part. It's their way of attracting top-tier, already vetted technology into their country. So, how do you know if you're eligible for that fast track? Well, just ask yourself these questions. The big one is, do you have a request from the CMS, the Central Medical Stores? That's the main government procurement agency. If they want your device, you're pretty much golden. Same thing goes if your device is for a really serious condition and there's just nothing else like it available in Kuwait right now. But, and this is a big but, let's be real for a second. Just because you think you're eligible for fast track or abridged, it doesn't mean it's a guarantee. At the end of the day, the Kuwaiti Regulatory Authority has the final word. They're going to look at your whole application and make the call themselves. Okay, pathway chosen. Now it's time to roll up our sleeves and get to the paperwork, assembling that technical file. And let me tell you, this is where every little detail matters. And I've got some fantastic news, especially for you global manufacturers out there. Kuwait has adopted the International STD format. That stands for Summary Technical Documentation. What does that mean for you? It means the dossier you put together for Kuwait is going to look a lot like what you'd prepare for other major markets. You don't have to start from scratch. You can leverage the work you've already done. It's a huge time saver. Okay, lean in for this one, because this is a pro tip that could save you months of headaches. Document legalization. This right here is the #1 bottleneck in the entire process. Please do not underestimate how long this takes. You need to get this ball rolling as early as you possibly can. I mean, maybe even before your main dossier is completely finished. So here's how it works. Your key documents, we're talking things like your free sale certificate, your GMP, your ISO certificates, they all have to be original copies. And each one has to be legalized by the Kuwaiti embassy in the country where it was issued. It's a multi-step journey for each piece of paper. And again, you just can't rush it. Now, there is a modern twist here that could be a total game changer for you. If your certificates are electronic, and this is the key part, they can be verified online through an official portal, you might get to skip that whole physical legalization process. It's a massive shortcut, so you should always check if this is an option for your documents. So you've done all the work and you finally get that approval. Congratulations! But getting that registration isn't the finish line. It's really just the starting line. Now you're on the market and you have to actively manage that registration for the entire life of your device to keep it there. So you might be wondering, what if I need to update my device? Maybe it's a small change in materials or a software patch? Well, anytime you change the product, you have to let the authorities know. There's a formal process for this, and it's called a variation. It's how you keep your approval up to date and totally valid. And what about that local partner we talked about? What if you need to switch to a new one? Yep, you guessed it. There's a formal process for that too. It's called a transfer of agency. You'll need legalized letters to officially end the old partnership and to kick off the new one. It just ensures everything is clean, legal, and that your device's registration is protected during the handover.
So there you have it. We've walked through the whole roadmap for Kuwait. We started with the basic definitions, talked about finding the right partner, choosing your strategic pathway, and then managing your device once it's on the market. The big picture here is that the process is incredibly clear, and it's built to align with global standards. So the final question to leave you with isn't just, are you ready to do this? It's, how can you use this smart, structured system to make Kuwait a cornerstone of your global strategy?